How do, America? Step on in and look alive. It is time for another episode of PlayUSA's Friday 5. I am at Grant D. Lucas in the Twitterverse, at Grant Lucas in the real world, back once again. It is Kentucky Derby week, as you can tell. One of 3 times all year we can acceptably dress like the last pick in the draft. Now, before we get going, a reminder to like us, subscribe, and to get notified when we update new videos. Make like Apple informing me of a phone update that I won't follow through on for 2 years, and ring that bell. All set? Alright then, saddle up, let's begin. There's nothing quite like the Kentucky Derby. Spring is in the air, Bourbon is a-flowin, the hallowed grounds of Churchill Downs, and of course, hundreds of thousands of people dressed elegantly and outlandishly to the point that even Cam Newton feels a bit uncomfortable. This year though, we didn't get that May race, obviously as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. Fortunately, the run for the roses is ready to return, and that is a subject of this week's 5. The Kentucky Derby history revisited and rewritten. I messed up my hair. Oh well, let's keep going. Let's kick things off at number 5. Fall Derby better than no Derby. Virtually any other year, the Kentucky Derby would be held the first Saturday in May, as the first leg of the Triple Crown. As we've all been forced to learn by now though, this is no ordinary year. The coronavirus pandemic forced the suspension of this historic race, and as a result, when the Derby gets going Saturday, it will mark the first time the race has occurred outside of its regularly scheduled May day since 1945. Yeah, you remember those voices? 75,000 people turned out to Churchill Downs that June 9th. That's all facts, by the way. June 9th, 75,000 people turned out. It was 3 days after the anniversary of the Normandy landings of World War II. For perspective, more than 150,000 people attended the 2019 Kentucky Derby. There will not be anybody there this year. Slogging through a muddy track, Hoop Jr. won going away in 1945, a 6th-length victory that would also be his last win ever. It was an uneventful race, but that's not the point. Normalization returned, and we'll hopefully get a similar experience in 2020, even if it does come without fans. Let's get to number 4, running for the roses. It's a time-honored tradition, one dating back to the 1890s. The winning horse slows to a trot, reaches the staging area, and receives a massive wreath of roses. Hence, the nickname of the Kentucky Derby, the Run for the Roses. But why roses? Well, legend has it that following the 1883 Derby, a man by the name of E. Barry Wall was handing out roses to all the ladies at a Louisville party. The track president at the time, M. Lewis Clark, yes, that name should sound familiar. He was the grandson to the explorer of Lewis and Clark fame. He figured that was a swell idea, so he brought roses back to the track and it became the official flower of the Derby in 1884. That said, the earliest account of an actual draping of roses around the neck of a winning horse came in 1896, and it wasn't until 1925 when a New York sports columnist nicknamed the race the Run for the Roses. Today, over 400 roses make up the winning garland, which stretches 2.5 yards long, 14 inches wide, and weighing 40 pounds. You know how brutal of a reward that is after a 1/4 sprint? I don't care who you are. Let's move on to number 3. Training for victory. Of course, we all remember the names of the most heralded thoroughbreds. Secretariat, Citation, American Pharoah, Justify, that's just to name a few. So much obviously factors into turning out championship horses, not the least of which is training. And when you find the right trainer, that can make all the difference. Take Bob Baffert, for example, trainer to the stars. On Saturday, he'll trot out 2 thoroughbreds. Either one might be worth a wager. After all, Baffert has trained the last 2 Triple Crown winners, Justify and American Pharoah. 5 of his horses have won the Kentucky Derby, a total that's second only to Ben A. Jones with 6. A Baffert win Saturday would obviously tie the record. But Baffert will need some magic, or even a miracle to happen. Barkley Tagg has one hell of a thoroughbred that will potentially become the trainer's second Derby winning entrant. Which brings us to number 2, Tiz the Law, set to rewrite history. In 2003, Tagg trained Funnyside, which won the Kentucky Derby to become the first New York bred horse to do so. 17 years later, Tagg has another Empire State champ. Tiz the Law enters the Derby as the heavy favorite, just over a month after claiming the Belmont Stakes. It was there Tiz the Law became the first New York horse to win that race since 1882. Now, the post position drawn by Tiz the Law isn't exactly ideal. It will start in the number 17 spot. Since the starting gate was implemented at the Kentucky Derby in 1930, number 17 is the only spot that has not produced a winner. At least for now. And now, our number 1. You can bet on it. The target is on Tiz the Law. At 4 to 5 odds, it is far and away the favorite to win the Roses. The next best bets per TVG are Art Collector at 9 to 2 and Honor AP at 7 to 1. By the way, Baffert's 2 horses have relatively favorable odds. Authentic at 10 to 1 and 1,000 Words at 12 to 1, so I wouldn't write him off just yet. In the history of the Kentucky Derby, the longest shot to win the sprint was Donerail in 1913, upsetting the entire field at a reasonable 91 to 1 odds. Last year's winner, Country House, is the next longest, 65 to 1. But we won't shake that wasp nest if for any of you still sore about Maximum Security's DQ. All of this is to say, the Kentucky Derby is back. And even though we're not allowed to attend, we will be dressed like an Easter egg, painted by a 4-year-old, devouring Derby pie, and washing it all down with some Maker's Mark. The race is on, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the fastest 2 minutes in sports and tune in again next week for another edition of PlayUSA's Friday 5.